record. Gewalt. All right. Last time we spoke about how we have to cultivate a good memory in order not to fall into forgetfulness. And like I said before, Moshe Schiff, iPhone 1. Oh, Robertson, that's a Gewaldic background. iPhone 1 mentioned the fact how there are benefits to forgetting according to Rabbi Nachman. So that's what we're going to cover today, Bezrat Hashem. Most people see forgetting as a problem, but I see it as a great benefit according to Rabbi Nachman Mibraslav. Again, this is a long piece. We're going to cut it into pieces, into little sections, and we're going to cover it over the next couple of days, Bezrat Hashem. We might be left on suspense, but it's Gewalt. If you never forgot anything, it would be impossible to serve God, because remembering everything from the past, you would never be able to lift yourself up to God. Right? Imagine if you were able to remember everything that you did in your past, good and bad, but let's focus on the bad for a second. How can you even get up in front of Hashem and even utter one word if you're just sitting on what you've done, all the bad you've done in the past? It would be impossible. Whatever you try to do, you would constantly be disturbed by your memories of the past. But having the power to forget, you do not need to be disturbed by the past. Right? So this is the benefits of forgetting. Right? I think Rabbi Nachman is going to touch on it later in this Torah, because it would be kind of crazy if we could just do all the bad in the world and then just forget about it and then move on. Right? And that's when he talks about teshuvah and all that. But right now we're focusing on the benefits of forgetting. So it's beneficial to forget some of the things or most of the bad you've done in the past. This is very important when trying to serve Hashem. Most people are troubled by the past, especially when trying to pray. Precisely then in their minds become filled with all kinds of distracting thoughts about their business, household, and other affairs. Right? We live in this world. We live in Olam Hazeh. We're going through so much on a day-to-day basis. We're interacting with so many people. Just think about it. It could be like one conversation you have with someone, you talk about Lashon Hara Chas v'Shalom. Right? We're experiencing this on a day-to-day basis. We're doing bad, whether we're trying, whether it's active or passive. But dwelling on it is not good. And this is not good for Avodas Hashem. Right? And this is very important. They worry that maybe they did something wrong or should have acted differently. When a person tries to pray or study, he can easily become troubled by thoughts about past wrongdoings and personal failings. This is a universal problem, as we all know. So I think this is a good place to stop. But Rabbi Nachman is touching on a great point about past wrongdoings, but also past failings. Right? So we could have said something wrong about another person or behind their back or to a person's face. Chas v'Shalom. But we could have also not studied enough for a test. And we could dwell on that. We could dwell on the fact that, okay, I got Chas v'Shalom a 70 or 60 or 50, and I didn't put in this amount of effort because of this, because of X. And you dwell on that. This is a problem. We can't do it according to Rabbi Nachman, and we're going to leave. Rabbi Nachman's leaving us on suspense for tomorrow. But there's benefits to forgetting. It's important to know that. Yimir Hashem. Any questions, comments, disagreements? Please feel free.
I have a question.
Yeah, and this is for everyone. Just know that.
Can you elaborate more on what I'm forgetting?
So I think it's an annoying answer, but it's kind of subjective here. And you're forgetting what's holding you back, what's not allowing you to wake up with alacrity, with eagerness in the morning, right? What's not letting you learn with 100% of your heart with yourself or with a chavruta, because there's just lingering thoughts. Because it's so, and we spoke about this the other week about distractions in our tefillah. Now, distractions in our tefillah is so normal, but we also spoke about thoughts in the past and how thoughts are so, they could take over, they could consume us, right? So those thoughts, it's important to, we're going to have thoughts. Like Moshe Schiff once told me this. It's important to focus on your thoughts, but maybe it's not always great to develop them. And once we're developing our thoughts, especially the bad ones, that could take over our avodas Hashem, right? That could affect us in a wrong way. So I think that's where, at least for me, it'd be beneficial to forget those, or even not to develop them, those type of thoughts. I don't know if that answered your question.
Can I add?
Please add.
You're also forgetting, maybe not. Again, as Jack said, it's subjective. Sometimes we also forget the good that we do. Sometimes we also forget what day of the Omer it was last night. So when we read it in the morning and we say, wow, I counted that number for the Omer last night, I don't even remember, but I did it. I checked it off on my little app that says I did it. I don't even remember that good that I did. And the same is true with what Rabbi Nachman says in regards to bad than it is to good, because if it wasn't true, then we wouldn't be here at all, because bad has to have good as its opposite, because we're not living in the times of Mashiach for a different time. But that exact point that we don't remember the good that we did. If we did remember all the good that we did, then we also wouldn't serve Hashem. Why would I serve God if I'm already as close as I can be? I did the tefillin yesterday. I daven. I shake the lulav that day. I counted the Omer last night. I davened on Rosh Hashanah. I fasted on Yom Kippur. I did all this. It's great. I don't need to do any more. I'm done. But because I forgot all that, because I don't remember every second that I'm going to fast on Yom Kippur and that I fasted in the past, that makes me want to do it. Makes me want to remember what that feeling was like. And also forget. It makes me want to forget it so I can relive it. At least that's how I see it. I don't know if that answers your question, but
That's gewaldic.
Both sides needed to be presented.
Yeah. Both answers were awesome. Thank you.
Wow. That's chazak. We need to. No, it's chazak, and it's part of like Moshe Schiff. What you just said reminds me of like the Torah, that we need to renew ourselves multiple times a day, even more than that.
Every second,
just recreating that feeling, enhancing it, building on it, improving it. Mirza Hashem. Anyone else have anything to add, share, disagree on? Feel free.
I was reading, it's crazy. I mean, I came across this, and you know, when you're like reading a book and like you want to remember that passage, you just like take a picture of it. So I was just like reading this book. It's called Mindfulness, and he brings a little passage from a book called The Little Prince, which I actually read in high school. I'm not sure if maybe the Chavra are familiar.
Great book.
It's so good that it's almost considered a sefer. And I took if you saw the movie, it's next level. But anyways, I took a little. There's a little passage that he puts into the book, into the Mindfulness book from The Little Prince, and it goes like this: the little prince asked, "Why are you drinking?" And the drunkard replied, "To forget." So the little prince, who he was already feeling sorry for him, he said, "To forget what? What are you trying to forget?" And the drunkard replied, "Forget that I'm ashamed." Right? The confessed the drunkard hanging his head. So the little prince said, "What are you ashamed of?" He wanted to help him. So the drunkard concluded, "Of drinking. I'm ashamed of drinking." So it's like sometimes like the forgetting is like not always so chazak, and we end up like convincing ourselves that, okay, like I'll push it off, like I'll try not to remember what I did, but then we end up like doing the same thing, and it's like we go into these cycles, and I think teshuva is not like, it's like, yeah, like we can be repenting over the same thing for so long and making the same mistakes, but in the book he writes, the fool is somebody who continues to make the same mistakes, but the wise man is somebody who makes new mistakes. So it's just like being able to recognize where we're faulting, and then it doesn't mean you're not going to mess up. It just means don't mess up in the same areas.
Valdik. I gotta watch the movie and read the book. Amazing, Donnie. All right. Any other comments before we conclude? Feel free. Just anything.
I think we're losing.
The Wi-Fi is just not fun in my room.
You with us?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi isn't fun. It's just not fun. Nisionos, Yimir Hashem, guys. We should just be healthy, happy, successful, whatever we're doing, whether we're in IDC community, running the community. The shoulders are mamish hurting. The whole community is on Reb St. Margot and Reb Josh's shoulders. It's crazy. You have Ariel University connecting bridges between Israel and America, we all know. He's going back in the summer to recreate. Oh, and now you're working on your project for the whole world. And Donald Sawson, seems like he's hidden, but he's so revealed. Yimir Hashem, guys. We should continue tomorrow and just be well. Have a good night.